dangerous precedent to actually bring the military on the table. I think it's a dangerous precedent. It's an unconstitutional precedent, and I think it must be avoided. But there must be dialogue. There must be dialogue that takes care of military concerns and the military issues. In 2008, in April 2008, after the MDC had won that election, and Morgan Tsvangirai had beaten President Robert Mugabe, the military sent envoys to talk to Morgan Tsvangirai. And there were about 6 key issues that they raised with the MDC at the time. The first one was that were concerns about transitional justice. Won't a future government prosecute us for human rights abuses that we have made to commit in the past? And we gave an assurance on an open, transparent program of transitional justice. The second question was, will a future government not dispossess them of the proceeds of their illicit or legal business activities? The third question was, will a future government not dispossess them of their land and not reverse the land question? And of course, the answer is obvious. No one wants to reverse the land question, and I don't think it's possible to reverse the land reform program anyway. The fourth or fifth question was whether those of them who wanted to leave the country would be allowed to leave the country. And of course, there's freedom of movement in Zimbabwe. The next question were their own conditions of services, decent salaries, and so forth. Again, obvious question. Next question was their pensions. They wanted a guarantee on their pensions, that their pensions would not be affected. Again, not a problem. The last question was whether they will be allowed to participate in spheres of the economy, including joining the civil service should they quit the military. So my submission is that their concerns must be attended to. They're an important stakeholder. But I believe strongly that by and large, the majority of the military will accept the dictates of the constitution. But you still have a few, and the few are largely people in the military who participated in the liberation struggle, who feel that this is our thing, and to use the local language, and that generation, the liberation generation, is a challenge, not just in the military, but in the length and the breadth of Zimbabwe, because it's a generation that is still fighting a war that finished 40 years ago. It is a generation that is driven by entitlement. It is a generation that is driven by impunity. It is a generation that is driven by an extractive mindset. It is a generation that is driven by a messianic mindset. We liberated you. We are your own Jesus. So nothing, there's no Zimbabwe without us. So it's a challenge that we have to face. It's a challenge that South Africans will face. It's a challenge that Mozambicans are facing. It's a challenge that Angolans are facing. It's a challenge that every country in Africa which has gone through a physical liberation struggle is facing.
What can you say about this?
Yeah, firstly, I think the attacks on President Chamisa are unfair. He just lost his mother, and we all know what it means, what mothers mean to us. He also just lost his uncle, a week ago. So I think that let's respect him and allow him to mourn his dearly beloved, mother, who sacrificed a lot for him to go to school. The issue of again, there's also a very unfair attack on the role of the MDC. One of the ironies, Violet, is that if you look at the one simple organization which is taking the brunt of the insanity of Emmerson Mnangagwa, it's actually the MDC Alliance. We have had a strange court judgment handed against us in the middle of a COVID pandemic. We've had our head office taken over by the military in the middle of the night. We have had our members disproportionately. If you look at everyone who has been abducted, tortured, raped, it's disproportionate by far, by an overall, by far. They are members of the MDC. On Friday, Saturday, we were in court. Fadzai area, our spokesperson, was in court together with some of our members. Our Secretary General is in court. I'm in court. Literally everyone is in court. Our youth leaders, each one of them right now is either in hiding or in prison or out on bail. Kurawone, for instance, in Masvingo. So we've taken the brand, but we will lead, and we will lead from the front. So we've got an important role to play. I, however, emphasized that every Zimbabwean must play his role. Every Zimbabwean must play a role. It's now beyond a single, organization, because of the brutality of the regime, the ubiquitousness of the regime. Look at what we saw on the 31st of July, 2020. There were basically policemen and soldiers literally in every street of Zimbabwe, without exception. Whether you went to Chireds, whether you went to Odds, whether you went to Nyazura, to Todito, to Chendambuya Tunkai, and so forth. So we need to increase the cost of the dictatorship, and every Zimbabwean citizen has an obligation to play his or her. We wrote about that in our reload, document. ZANU-PF needs genuinely to come to the table. In 2008, they didn't come genuinely to the table. 2, there must be an agreed set of reforms. I've spoken about that. 3, there must be external referee. There must be a mutually agreed mediator, who at this present moment, I don't think it will be a Zimbabwean, an eminent, African, and there are many of them, including President Papa Obasanjo. 4, there must be an implementing mechanism, the National Transitional Authority, as we call it. 5, there must be an agreement on the duration of the implementation of the reform agenda. Lastly, there must be a free and fair election to restore the country to legitimacy. So it's a simple, straightforward roadmap.